Welcome back to week 3 of Vegetarian Fresh. I hope you've enjoyed this program so far, and I got another great recipe for you this week. So with that being said, let's get into it. So, some few reminders. If you haven't completed the media release form, make sure that you do that. You can email it to myself, and my email's listed right there for you. If you haven't already, make sure that you post some pictures or email me some pictures or even just questions, comments, feedback. All of that is appreciated. You should have received your second grocery box drop off by now, so congratulations to everyone who did receive theirs. And just a little recap of the previous week. So the first week we talked about with a vegetarian diet, it's really a shift of the protein source and looking for plant protein sources instead of having animal protein sources. And the reasons people choose vegetarian diets could be a whole gamut of reasons, including ethical or philosophical reasons, religious, health reasons, or maybe it's just a personal preference. On week 2, we talked about the types of vegetarian diets as well as some concerning nutrients. So you can see the 5 types that we talked about in the column right there, as well as some nutrients of concern. Now this week, we're going to talk about the benefits of vegetarianism. So we're going to focus on 5 benefits: weight management, heart health, diabetes, cancer, and osteoporosis. So the first one being weight management. So we know that a vegetarian diet has been associated with lower body mass index. And what that is your weight divided by your height in meters squared. And the studies that have shown this was the Adventist Health Study 2, the EPIC Oxford Study, and the Swedish Mammography Cohort Study. So lots of the other benefits that I talk about do involve these studies. If you want some more information, most of the information I got was from recent recommendations that I found in the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. They have a position statement on vegetarian diets, and I chose their position. They are, like I said, the Americans, so from the United States of America, versus the one that Dietitians of Canada has, since theirs is actually more recent. I believe it was within the last 2 years, while ours, it's been a little while since we did a position statement. So I do believe I included our position statement in your package that you got on week 1. But if you want some more information and you can't seem to find their position statement, feel free to message me and I'll make sure to send that off to you. And what these studies have shown is that vegetarian diets are associated with a greater weight loss versus control diet groups. So that was a good thing that they noted. They also noted heart health, so a reduced risk of cardiovascular disease. And they've seen changes in abdominal obesity. Note that the definition of obesity has recently changed. So now obesity is an amount of excess fat or adiposity that impairs health. So not sure if you would consider it abdominal obesity now, but maybe just excess fat deposits around your abdomen. Also blood pressure and blood sugars, they have saw improvements in those areas as well. And decreased markers of inflammation. They found that vegan diets had the most fiber, the least total and saturated fat, the lowest body weights, and lower cholesterol levels. So all these are definitely going to benefit your heart. And they also saw a lower prevalence of hypertension, as well as diabetes. So there's a lower risk, even including those who included dairy and eggs. And some of the reasons this is maybe due to the whole grain intake, the intakes of legumes, so you know your chickpeas, pinto beans, fava beans, red kidney beans, you name it, due to fruit and or vegetable intake, as well as nut consumption. And also red and processed meats were associated with increased fasting sugars. So just cutting that out is definitely going to help you with diabetes risk and control. And then cancer, they saw a lower overall risk of cancer in those who had vegetarian diets. Lots of focus in the gastrointestinal cancers, especially with the colorectal cancer, and this may be due to the higher fiber intake, and as well prostate cancers. So like I said, higher fiber intake, which would be found in the fruits, the vegetable, legumes, and the whole grain. So lots of benefit in that regard. Okay. And then osteoporosis. So they saw that vegetarians have similar or slightly reduced bone mineral density compared to omnivores, with the vegans being the least. However, it really wasn't of clinical significance. And when you look at the health factors that are within a vegetarian diet, the fruit and vegetable intake, magnesium, potassium, vitamin C and K, and the lower acid load are all going to help your bones. In the EPIC Oxford study, they saw a 30% increased fracture risk with vegans, but once they added in at least 525 milligrams of calcium, that risk was gone, right? So you really want to make sure that if you are vegan, you are meeting your calcium needs. And they also saw a no increase fracture risk with vegetarians who have dairy and eggs within their diet. So that is really important to note. And the Adventist Health Study 2, they saw a reduced risk of hip fracture, and that may be due to the legume and the meat analogs. So like I said kind of already, you want to ensure you're meeting your recommended dietary allowance for calcium, vitamin D, B12, and protein, and make sure you include lots of fruits and vegetables. And this is all going to make sure that you're helping your bones and you're not putting it at increased risk of fractures. Okay, and kind of with all that being said, and the 5 conditions that I touched on, remember that this is reduced risk that they saw. It's not for treatment per se. So if you do have any of these conditions and you're looking to help improve it, speak with your primary care provider. Tell them your concerns. And you can also speak with a dietitian who may help you with the management of these conditions. But it's not to say that a vegetarian diet is going to treat this, but it may definitely decrease your risk for developing these conditions. And with all that being said, let's take some time to complete our worksheets. So I know the previous weeks you guys completed your worksheet. I actually got some back in my email, and it was very interesting to take a look to see what you're learning and to see how you can apply the knowledge. So thank you for that. The first question this week is, were you able to complete your goal from last week? Why or why not? So really identifying barriers for you completing goal, and maybe even readjusting what your goals are. So, life, sometimes it gives us lemon and we got to make lemonade. So sometimes we just have to kind of go with the flow with what happens. If you need some time to fill this out, just pause the video and then press play when you're ready for me to introduce you to the next question. So question number 2 is, how may you benefit from enjoying vegetarian meals? So I listed some possible benefits this week, and we also talked about some other concerns in the previous weeks. So are any of these benefits beneficial to you? If so, write it down. And then the third question is, what are your future plans regarding vegetarian meals? So if you're not already having vegetarian meals, is this something you want to look into? Maybe you want to consider, being a vegan, maybe a lacto-ovo vegetarian, maybe just a flexitarian, right? Maybe every now and then, maybe have a vegetarian meals, or maybe you just want to incorporate more legumes, more fruits and vegetables, more nuts and seeds. That's okay too. What are your future plans? Take some time and write that down. I hope these questions kind of got your brain going a little to decide what goal you want to write down this week. Remember, we do want our goals to be SMART, so that's specific, measurable, action-oriented, realistic, and within a time frame. So write it down and check to make sure that you meet those 5 requirements. Remember, you may need to write down some steps needed to achieve the goal. And also think about things that might be a barrier, that might make it hard for you to achieve your goal. Whatever it is, write it down. And if you can think of some solutions too, go ahead. So this week we're making smoked tofu stir fry with brown rice, and our protein source, our main protein source of this meal, is going to be the tofu. So I didn't include a picture here just because I got so many wonderful pictures of all the creations you guys have been making throughout this entire week. So I thought it would be nice to show you a video of your work instead of a picture of this week's meal. I hope that's good enough for you. So I'm going to go ahead, show the video of your beautiful creations, and right after that we'll get right into the recipes. So we're about to start making our tofu stir fry. This is a delicious and an easy way to incorporate stir fry into meals. So I have all my ingredients here. I've got my tofu. So this one's called Oriental style, and it's vegetables. It's by No Name. So different brands might have a slightly different name, but basically you're looking for an Asian or a Thai styled frozen vegetables. This right here is a vegetable broth, low sodium soy sauce. I got my cut up garlic. I have sesame oil, ginger, grated ginger, and then I got some honey. And remember, you can use honey or sugar. Both are going to affect your body the same way. They just come in a different form. As well as if you don't have vegetable broth, you can use water, but the vegetable broth is going to give it a little bit more flavor when you're making the sauce. I did want to talk a little bit about the tofu. So here I have two tofu types. I know I titled this smoked tofu stir fry, but I wasn't able to find smoked tofu at my grocery store, but I did find a flavored one. So if you're new to using tofu, I would probably suggest using a flavored one because tofu in and of itself really doesn't have a flavor. The only caution is this tends to be a bit higher in sodium. So if you're used to using tofu or you have some time to actually marinate the tofu overnight, try using a plain one. And remember, tofu comes in all different sizes for firmness. For this recipe, you definitely want to use something that's firm or extra firm. That's going to give it a nice texture, almost like a chicken texture. The soft tofu would be used for things such as soups and smoothies, where it will just blend right into that product.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna use this tofu for this, just because it does expire sooner than this one. It's also important to note that what the tofu is placed in, so there is a little bit of a liquid in there, and depending on what it's placed in may affect the nutrients of that tofu. So not only does it have protein, but it also has iron, but it may also have some extra calcium. So what you want to look for on the label would be something that says calcium chloride. So here, this one doesn't have it. It has magnesium chloride, so it's not as high in calcium as this product. So when I look, it does say, sorry, not calcium chloride, it says calcium sulfate. So you want to look, make sure that there's calcium sulfate in that product, and that's going to give you more calcium, which we know is one of the nutrients that is of a concern in a vegetarian diet, because we don't have milk, right? We don't have cheese, we don't have yogurt. So because we're not having that in our diet, we want to make sure that we do get calcium from somewhere, and tofu is a good place to look for that. So I'll get started. I'm going to open this up, cut it into little bite-sized pieces, and then fry it on the stove to give it a nice brown color. After that, we'll make the sauce, place the tofu into the sauce, and then we will start with getting the vegetables ready. Once that's done, we'll add them all together, and ta-da, it'll be all done. All right, so now I'm at this stove. I have my frying pan. So I place it in between low and medium. You can place it a little bit higher to medium. You just want to get a nice brown color on each side of the tofu. I did spray it with some cooking spray just so it doesn't stick to it. So I'm just gonna place it in there right now. And I might need to turn up my temperature a little bit more to get a nice brown color. So I'm just gonna sit here, I'm gonna wait, and I'm gonna continuously flip it to get that nice brown color. I might keep it on the side for a few minutes and then kind of flip every now and then. So I'll see you in a bit. Let me do this. You take a look at the handbook, and then if you're doing this with me, you can pause it. You can also flip yours, get yours ready, and then when it's done, we'll move on to the next step. So we're back here at the stove with the tofu. As you can see, it definitely did get brown on all the sides, so I think it's ready for me to put it in a bowl and set it aside. So of course I'm gonna turn off this stove. So I got a little bit of bowl here. I'm gonna place it in. It's all in there. Now that I have the pieces all of the tofu all nice and brown, I'm gonna make the sauce. So I'm gonna add in all the other ingredients. So here I got the garlic, got the soy sauce, the broth, the honey, ginger, and sesame oil. So I really love sesame oil. I love the smell of it. It makes me think that I'm eating a lot of Asian food. If I make fried rice, I add a lot, so I might actually add a little bit more afterwards, but I'm just gonna mix it all around. I'm not sure if I said soy, I meant sesame oil. If I said soy, my bad. Get it all nice and mixed in. So this is actually the sauce that's gonna give your stir fry a flavor. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take the tofu and I'm gonna actually put it in here so it can marinate as we start to prepare the vegetable portion. So I'm gonna go do that, put the tofu in here. I'll meet you at the stove where we'll start with preparing the vegetable part of this meal. And afterwards we'll add them all back together and we'll put it on a bed of rice, and trust me, it's gonna be great. And now I have the sauce that I didn't make. So I'm gonna just pour the sauce right on top of there. So that's gonna give it a lot of flavor. I'm gonna mix the sauce as I pour it. So yeah, let me try to show you. So I pour it in there. And it's gonna really give our tofu some additional flavor as well. So I'm gonna make sure that the tofu is nicely satted in there. Each piece at least got some of the sauce to coat it evenly. And I'm gonna put this aside, and then I'm gonna go and start on the vegetable portion. This will be ready when we're ready to throw it into the vegetables. So let's go ahead, let's start with the vegetable portion. You can use the same saucepan doing the vegetable portion. I do like to use my wok, so I'm actually gonna go get my wok to use it, but using the same frying pan is fine too. All right, so I am back here. I put my wok on the stove, gonna turn it up. So in between low and medium, and I'm gonna spray it just so the vegetables don't stick. I'm gonna empty the vegetables into the wok. Like I said, you might use a frying pan. Whichever you choose to use, it's really up to you. I'm just gonna empty them into there. And then I'm gonna maybe turn it up a little bit more so it can cook a little bit faster. I'm just gonna saute it until it turns into the texture that I do want. So let's see how this goes. Now I turned it up to about medium high. It'll make it easier and quicker to get it all sauteed. So you do want to do it every few minutes just to make sure that the heat is evenly distributed, that it's cooking evenly throughout. And right after that, we got the marinated tofu that we're going to throw in. Okay, now we're going to get the rice prepared so we can put our stir fry right on top of the rice. So what I've got is I picked up brown jasmine rice. So jasmine has a little bit more flavor than regular. And remember, you want to use a 1-to-2 ratio. So I'm actually going to use 2 cups of rice and 4 cups of water. So let me just pour in my rice here, get that measured out. And basically, you're going to put it on the stove. You're going to bring it to a boil. Oops, I think I need to cut this hole a little bit bigger. So you're gonna bring it to a boil, and then you're gonna turn it down to low and let it simmer for about 25 minutes, covered. You wanna make sure that it is covered, and you wanna just make sure when it's done is that there's no water at the bottom. So make sure you're checking around 25 minutes. That's approximately how long it should take. Some rice might vary a little bit quicker or a little bit longer, but right around that mark. You can always check the packaging for the instructions there. So what I do recommend is rinsing your rice. So I'm gonna actually go and rinse my rice, and then I'll add in this and we'll meet back at the stove. So I have my rinsed rice right here, and I've got my 4 cups of water. So I'm gonna pour the water in, turn the stove on to high, get it up to a boil, put that lid on it. It's gonna get it up to a boil quicker. And then once it does start boiling, I'm gonna put the temperature down to around low and keep it covered. And I'll set the timer for 25 minutes at that point. So let me go ahead, let me prepare the rice, and I will get back to you after. When the rice is done, I'll just show you the final product and we can go from there. So that's all for this week. I have, you can see, I got the stir fry on top of some rice. Can you see it right there? It's all nice and hot, so I can actually see this steam coming off of it. I can't wait to try some of that. I might wait a little while till it cools down, so I'm gonna go enjoy my meal. I hope your meal tastes just as good as this one. And give me a second, I'm gonna finish up eating, and then I'll wrap up this week with some more information. So take care, see you in a second after I'm done eating, and I can't wait to see your creations. So that's it. You got a nice stir fry with some rice. And that's it for all the pre-recorded YouTube videos. I hope you enjoyed the program thus far. Next week we're going to have a live Zoom session, and if you haven't checked your email from this week already, the time is located in there and it's based on all your feedback and responses. I hope the time works for you because I'm looking forward to seeing you there. We will be making hummus, so what I would suggest is make sure you have your chickpeas ready. If you're using them from a can, then you have no need to pre-prepare. However, if you are using them fresh, you're going to need to soak them and then boil them for about an hour to an hour and a half before you come to the program. So what I'd suggest is take your booklet, read through it, get familiarized with the recipe next week, and if you have any questions, also make sure you have everything there ready to prepare before the start of the session, and also bring the booklet, because we're going to kind of go through what you've learned throughout the weeks, and we just want to hear a little bit more from you. We want some feedback, so I'm looking forward to meeting you all next week. I've seen your lovely pictures and it's been great seeing you that way, but I can't wait to interact with you and to really hear your voice, to see your expressions, and to get even more information. So take care for this week, and I'll see you next week.